Easy guys, welcome back to the lab. In today's experiment, I evolve a Yautja from the movie Predator, Spore, the world's finest evolution simulator, as long as you squint. This has been a popular request, especially after the Xenomorph video, but I've avoided it because in my opinion humanoid bipeds just look weird in Spore. But I'm broke and desperate, and the lab needs more funding, so in the name of science, we begin. The Yautja didn't just appear, they evolved from something older, something considerably more primitive, on a distant swamp world called Yautja Prime. That's where our data begins. Deep in the tide pool, our cell emerges, hungry. At this stage, the Yautja are completely unrecognizable. No mandibles, no biomask, no honor code, just a small aggressive organism known as the Hishkatan, eating whatever it can reach. But even here, at the cellular level, the data is already interesting. Our subject doesn't just consume, it collects. Parts stripped from defeated organisms, repurposed and integrated, scavenging as an adaptation. With a spike collected, we seek a mate. Our cell adapts for speed and aggression. The spikes appear first, positioned where the mandibles will eventually form, while the flagella trail behind like early flesh braids, pulling us through the water. The survival strategy is simple: sudden bursts of aggression to pursue prey, and enough speed to avoid becoming someone else's. As our organism evolves, the flesh braids shift forward, the back armors with serrated spikes, and the first green hues emerge. The coloring that will define the species for millions of years. The strategy, however, hasn't changed: speed, aggression, sudden violence. But here's something interesting appears in the data. The aggression is contagious. When one Hish strikes, nearby Hish strike too, a shared biological signal rippling through the group. Not cooperation just yet, just chemistry. Now, one of the largest cells in the tide pool, the water can no longer contain what this thing is becoming. And with all creatures in Spore, land beckons. The body shifts into something amphibious, four-limbed and built for solid ground, as our Hish steps away from the safety of the swamp into a world considerably less forgiving. The braids remain, the spikes remain, the bursts of aggression remain. On shore, the first nests form, tight clusters of Hish, 6 spawnlings at a time, sticking together on a world that would very much like to eat them. But the clan will need food, so our Hish reaches out into the unknown. The bones of other creatures scattered across the landscape offer something useful, parts that can be stripped and repurposed. Then, a Senzi. Curious. Too curious. Our Hish doesn't deliberate. Aggression is survival, and on this occasion, also dinner. Back at the nest, evolution continues and it wastes no time. First, the gender switch. The Hish change sex involuntarily, producing whatever the colony needs at any time. A biological arrangement that raises several questions we won't be exploring today. The stature rises, the front legs pull back into forearms, the forehead develops its first ridge of bone, mandibles begin to extrude, and the eyes… not those eyes. It's hard not making a creature look cute. That's better. The spines continue down the back, a direct callback to the cell stage. And then, just beneath the collarbone, something that will define this species more than any physical adaptation: the kill gland. One small gland producing a hormone that increases aggression further still, more violent, more lethal with every generation. Our quadruped is becoming something else. Ah, that walk. Spore, I love you so. Newly evolved, we head out to find the nest of Bob. More food. The others flee when we arrive, already aware of what a Hish nest in the neighborhood means. Plummeting property prices, health and safety violations galore. Our species pursues. The kill gland doesn't negotiate. And then, somehow, our Hish grew a little smarter. Back at the nest, evolution continues. The mouth I'm not quite happy with. Spore has loads of protruding muzzles, but no flatter, aggressive humanoid mouths. There's a couple of options here, but I'm gonna have to wait for a few more mouths to unlock. The bottom mandibles follow, pulling us a little closer each time to the final form. The hunting grounds are quieter. Nearby nests either predated or abandoned, the neighborhood having developed something of a reputation. The Hish move further out, hunting in pairs this time, collecting from bone piles along the way. A nest of swoo, then scraps. No honor code yet existed. All creatures were fair game, even spawnlings. The kill gland doesn't distinguish, and neither did we. Each kill triggered the next, a chain reaction moving through the pack like a current. Then the grumpy. Nest after nest, each one quieter than the last. Not all Hish returned, but the ones that did were stronger for it. Yautja Prime was not a world that rewarded passivity. Subject to frequent rainfall and storms, and populated by things that regarded the Hish as a reasonable source of nutrition. As prey moved further from the nest, so did the Hish, and a bipedal posture was simply more efficient for covering larger distances and freeing the arms for what comes next. A bikini. Our Hish migrated to new hunting grounds. A larger pack this time, 3. That walk, it's just too funny. Dear, I'm gonna have to make some amendments here. At the new hunting grounds, evolution took a significant turn. The spine straightened, new legs, new arms, hands, and feet. For those interested, the extra parts come from the Dark Injection mod. The head presented a problem. I think the only way I'm going to be able to do this head is either use another limb and attach it to the neck like we did in the Xenomorph video, but it makes the head a little too long and thin. But we'll work with it for now. The brow ridge came next, several attempts, then flesh braids, and with them, the final Yautja flourish. Something had crossed over. In Yautja history, there's a name for this moment. Kyle. The first hunter, it means rage. Upon hatching, the pack moved out, a nest of goulash first. They were hungry. Then, a nest of odge. More challenging prey, but the pack held. However, the Hish were outgrowing their world. The stronger they became, the further their problems moved from the terrestrial and towards something else entirely. An alien race, technologically advanced. They had been abducting Hish and other species from Yautja Prime for some time, for blood sport, labor, and entertainment. The Amengi. It was Kyle who first understood that technology being used against them could be turned around, scavenged, repurposed like they always had, turned against its owners. The Hish were good students. The Hish fashioned weapons from Amengi tech, a slashing claw, and a plasma caster mounted on the shoulder, although in truth, it would be a while before the Hish learned to use this newly discovered tech effectively. It was here the Hish progressed into the tribal stage, their code of honor still absent. The Hish moved out to hunt. Some chose fish, others chose more dangerous targets on land, moving carefully through the jungle to stalk its prey. The plasma caster made light work of the furgery. With Amengi technology at their disposal, the Hish had little need to develop their own weapons. They only needed food. A group of Vestatosaurus held a tribe nearby. The Hish regarded them as inferior species and took their food. This would feed the next generation of spawnlings. Then, the Hish came back for the tribe itself. The Vestatosaurus were no match for the plasma caster, but the Hish had not yet learned to use this technology safely. Many Hish died. There was still much for Kyle to teach. The Pink Village attempted a raid. They were silenced quickly. The plasma caster's power was not in question. But this bred discontent within the tribe. Such technology did not prove Hish strength, only their dependence on it. The Hish struggled with their identity, with who exactly they were becoming. The Pink Village was wiped out, straight for the main hall, the plasma caster again making the argument for them. Back at camp, the tribe competed amongst themselves. Combat trials. Who was the strongest? The oldest question they knew, asked with fists. They continued taking food from the other tribal species, hunting game, but something was shifting. Lone Hish began venturing out alone, not for food, but for the test. Who could take on the biggest, most dangerous prey? The plasma caster was forbidden, seen as dishonorable. This frequently did not go in the Hish's favor. The Scion tribe fell next. The Hish were hungry. and the hunger settled arguments quickly. The solo hunts continued. It had become something of a tradition, a proving ground, the first rough outline of what would eventually be called the hunt. Then the greens. More Hish died from other Hish than the greens themselves. This theme continued back at the clan, where weaker Hish were slain in trials of combat. Only the strong survived. Their biggest enemy was themselves. The Hish were becoming dominant on Yautja Prime. Every other species either dead or fled. The Emengi, watching from the safety of their ships, could see a species they could no longer control through conventional means. The fossil record is incomplete here, but what we do know is this. Kyle had been watching the Emengi for years, feigning loyalty, building alliances. The uprising was brief and total, and the Emengi never saw it coming. Their technology, their ships, their weapons, all of it seized. Kyle fashioned armor from a fallen Emengi exoskeleton, the first trophy, the template for everything that followed. The Hish took the name Yautja, and Kyle became the first hunter. But one problem remained: each other. The Yautja built their first town hall, angular, asymmetric, crude. It would do. Their first vehicle followed, the Hish tech, Emengi origins visible in every line, sleek, organic forms, hard, aggressive tech, rough, insectoid geometry, a peppering of Geiger, something that looked grown rather than built. 3 Hish tech moved out immediately, targeting spice vents across the planet. The Emengi had used this resource, the Yautja would follow suit. But rival clans were already forming. This was inevitable. The Yautja were not a species that unified easily. They were competitive, and each clan carried its own interpretation of what it meant to hunt, what it meant to be Yautja. Kyle had little patience for the debate. The undisciplined would be destroyed. Without it, their race was doomed. Those who complied with the code would survive. That was the only negotiation on offer. The first rival city fell quickly. Its resources fed 3 new Hish tech. Those moved to the next city, which fed more vehicles, which moved to the next. A snowball, unstoppable and entirely deliberate. Each city that accepted the code joined the expanding framework. Each city that refused ceased to exist. This was not unification, it was the first enforcement of Yautja law, the honor code written in the wreckage of those who disagreed with it. Then an opportunity presented itself. Enough resources for something new. The Hish Air. Same design language as the Hish tech. Wide, low, curved, built for one purpose: speed and firepower, nothing else. Half the Hish tech were decommissioned. Their resources became a fleet of Hish Air, sent far and wide across the globe. City after city fell, each clan that resisted adding its resources to the momentum. The wave was unstoppable. The final clan surrendered. The honor code now had teeth. The clan wars would never truly end, but from this point forward they would be conducted by strict rules, because without them the Yautja would simply destroy themselves, which would have been a tremendous waste of a perfectly good apex predator. As an outlet for the aggression and to establish hierarchy, the hunt began. Yautja Prime had its first law, and the only way the Yautja understood. A great mothership was assembled. Yautja would have to prove themselves in close combat before being granted a plasma caster or cloaking device. The species had learned at some cost what happened when technology fell into unskilled hands. And so the mothership launched, venturing out into the cosmos in search of worthy prey. The most dangerous targets valued most. The universe, as far as the Yautja were concerned, was now a hunting ground. Somewhere on a small blue planet that had just discovered fire, something was about to become very interesting. I'd like to take a moment to thank all of my channel members and lab partners. You guys help keep the lab lights on when the algorithm fails to swing our way. You guys are awesome. And with that, goodbye.